Hey guys, Wolf here. A lot of my friends own Garry's mod now, and some of them don't know how to play, like at all. So I figured instead of teaching them individually, why not make a basics tutorial? So, to start off, when you first enter the game, you'll get a menu similar to this, except with some pictures in the background. The first thing you're going to want to hit is Start New Game. Once you do that, you got GM Construct and GM Flatgrass on Sandbox. Enter either one of these, whichever one you want. I am currently on Flatgrass. This game uses Half-Life 2 controls, WASD to move, space to jump, control to crouch, and shift to sprint. Garry's mod controls added onto this are hold down Q for spawn menu, V to fly, and hold down C for this menu where you're actually using your cursor rather than just looking around. You're moving your cursor around on the screen, which is actually very useful. We'll go into that later. And also Z is to remove the last item that you've created. So let's jump into this. Hold down Q to open up your spawn menu. You'll have a lot of different lists and icons. It just depends on what source material you have for Garry's mod, but these are Half-Life 2 items. So I'm going to go ahead and spawn one of these. Here we have a water barrel from Half-Life 2, and we just move it around with our physics gun by holding down left click. When it's in the air, right click to freeze it, and then just left click on it to unfreeze it. Or while it's frozen, you can press R while looking at it to unfreeze it. Now, if you hold down E, instead of looking around when you move around your mouse, you'll actually be rotating it, which is very useful for precision. If you hold down shift while doing this, it'll have a rotation snap on 45-degree angles, which is very, very useful. If you just scroll while holding the item, it'll actually bring it to you and push it away from you, depending on which direction you're scrolling. So that's very useful for posing your item. Remember about the rotation and the rotation snap and pushing it away from and towards you. That's all you really need to know about the physics gun. It freezes, it unfreezes, it rotates, and that's pretty much it. Just remember those controls. So the mouse wheel pushes, pulls, freezes, unfreeze, R to unfreeze. Hold down E. There you go. That's pretty much all there is to know about it. So now, your second gun that you'll spawn with is the tool gun. I'll jump into this in a moment, and I'll talk a little bit about your spawn menu here. This is called a prop. When I delete it, it'll say, oh, you just undid a prop, by pressing Z, by the way, just a reminder. These, they have physical properties. They have gravity, and they can deal damage if they're thrown at you. If it's thrown at you too hard, it has weight, but nothing really custom about it. If they're light enough, you can even press E on it and pick it up. But props are fairly simple. Ragdolls, on the other hand, are sort of like a character's player model. They have bones, and they can be posed in different ways. It's like they have multiple different physical what am I looking for? Physical areas, kind of all connected to each other by bones or whatever. I'm kind of messing up. I can't really articulate today, but the point is that they're like characters. You can just pose them, you can wiggle them around. You'll run into ragdolls in multiple cases, but the main case is in character models. You can pose them in whatever stupid position you want to by freezing them, and you can make them look pretty goofy. So now the third and final icon you need to know about in here are effects. Now, effects are similar to props, only they don't have physical properties. They just look like green circles. When you're holding something that is not like is not a tool, then it won't show the green circle, but it has no physical properties and you can walk right through it. It's pretty much just for background scenery or whatever. So they're very simple and they're not used for that much, and you won't run into effects often. So it's not a bug if you run into one of these. They're just around your spawn menu. So now we'll jump into the tool gun. The tool gun has a lot of different options. This whole list right here, constants, construction, posing, and render, are all focused around the tool gun. I'll jump into the posing tools here because I have the ragdoll right here to mess around with. First thing you got is the eye poser. Left click on them to take control of their eyes, and left click again where you want them to be looking. I'll make them looking at the barrel, and then right click on them if you want them to be looking directly where you are. I'll press V to fly, which is just like no clip. and that adds a little bit more precision because I can come right up to him and hold down control to slow down. Remember, if you're not holding down control, you're faster and it's hard to get a lock on a location, but if you're holding down control, you're nice and slow and no clip. You can pose his eyes looking at you, or you can just make him cross-eyed, just like this. Why not? And then press V again to stop flying. Now, face poser, you right-click on the face you'd like to pose, and this orange circle will indicate which ragdoll or face you've selected. It'll tell you if you've got them. So I've got them, and you've got a lot of different preset faces and options here, but you've also got the sliders, which are for more advanced face poses. Let's say I want him to have a jaw drop. Well, his mouth isn't parted, so not right now. His jaw is just dropped. So that looks kind of interesting. Where do I have my mouth part here? One thing is that you have to find, the things that you're looking for here. I've got mouth drop, and I'm not that great with the face poser, but I know how it works. Here I've got his mouth open. Why not raise his eyebrows? Let's see. We go to lid. No, that's lid raiser. There we go. Inner razor. Inner razor. There we go. Okay, so now we've got the finger poser, which works a lot like the face poser. You just right-click on a hand that you'd like to pose, you get an orange circle, and you can move around their fingers using sliders, or you can pick out a preset. So you can move around their thumbs, their fingers, it's all separate. Now, I guess this is where I should bring this up. If you really don't want to hold down Q this whole time and get the spawn menu up in your face when you're trying to do this, hold down C, and the tool that you have selected will come up in a little side icon here, and you can interact with it without having the entire spawn menu up in your face. It's really useful. I didn't use that for a long time, and now that I've been using it, things have become a lot easier. So remember, holding down C will allow you to customize the tool that you have selected without having to go in the spawn menu. So you can also go in the presets here. I'll give him a thumbs up on the other hand. Why not? Alright, now the final posing tool is the Inflator, which is really ridiculous to mess around with. Left-click inflates, right-click deflates. And you can make some really horrifying looking creatures doing this. This is already pretty terrifying by itself. So, yeah, there are your posing tools. I'll jump into a few render tools here. You've got your coloring tool, which is self-explanatory. You've got red, blue, green. You can color it however you want. Let's say I want this barrel here to have a teal tinge. Left-click on the item you'd like to color, and then right-click on it if you just want to bring it back to its default color. So I'll make it teal, and then here you've got transparency. You can make it half transparent, which makes it like a shadow, and then all the way, which just makes it invisible to the naked eye, but we'll keep it regular. The material works a bit like the coloring tool, only it changes the material and it doesn't have quite as many options available. Works exactly like it, just changes the way it looks. I'll take this stove here and I'll make it a wooden stove. There we go. That looks strange, but, well, it worked. Right-click if you want to get rid of it, and just select whatever you'd like. Why not I pick this chrome material? There we go. That's interesting. Alright, so, paint. It allows you to paint decals on the ground from throughout the game. Blood, scorch, light, cut, bullet holes. It's just if you want to place certain details on props or on the ground or whatever. Now, the rest of I won't bother mentioning all of these tools because that would make a very long tutorial, but when you have the game, they're fun to screw around with. So I'll jump into some constants here, or just one, the main one. Weld. This is probably the one you're going to be using the most. If you want something that's going to move, and then two things to be connected, then you just take your barrel and your stove, or whatever two props or ragdolls you want to connect, and you weld them together. Left click, left click. There we go. The two are welded together, and now they will not disconnect from each other unless you undo the weld. So if you wanted to undo the weld, you just press Z. There you go, you undid the weld. But if you want to connect two things for a vehicle or whatever, that's very useful. So I just brought up a vehicle, so why not teach you how to make one of those? Take a prop of your choice. I'm going to take... what would I like? I'm going to take a bathtub. No, that's too overused in Garry's mod. How about a dumpster? There we go. I'm going to take my wheel tool, down here, pick out a wheel model. Oh, too big. too messed up. Too big. Too big! There we go. Alright, so we're going to set which buttons we want them to move. So I've got the arrow keys set up here, so that's fine. Forward, reverse, or friction, torque. We don't want it to break, so we'll keep the force limit at 0. That means that it's unbreakable. And we don't want it to be toggle. So there we go. We just attach them onto there. That little spinning icon will indicate which direction they're going in. And just press E to reverse it. That's what I'm going to have to do with these other two. And there we go. Now when I release that down, when I use my arrow keys, it's a little bit too heavy to move. But when I lift it up in the air, you'll see the wheels spin when I use the arrow keys. For some reason they're not spinning. Probably used the wrong model. I'm just going to use something a little bit different because some things don't work very well with wheels and some wheels don't work very well. It's all trial and error. I'll take a bed frame and I'll attach some actual vehicle wheels on there. Here we are. Just attach these onto there. There we go. And boom. There we are. Now I press the arrow keys. It should roll in the direction I want it to. Come on. Come on, you can make it. It doesn't want to move. Perhaps it's a little bit too heavy for itself. Oh well. It's all about trial and error, like I've said. Holding down C, just something I like to mention, you can grab things while holding down C, which is for precision, or you can right-click on them, and you can have all kinds of different options here. Make persistent makes it so you can't grab it with your physics gun, which is useful if you don't want to accidentally be grabbing things and moving them while you're operating. So I don't want it to be persistent. Keep upright makes it so that it won't flip over when you're moving it, which is pretty useful for a vehicle or whatever else. Here is ignite, which will catch it on fire, and then you can extinguish it. Just for fun. Why not? Remove will remove it. Drive will give you almost like a psychic control over it and will let you fly the item around. I don't really know why you'd want to do this other than for fun, but that option's there. You can also disable collisions, which is very useful because what this does is it completely disables collisions with everything around it. So, you know, if you don't want it to be colliding with anything while you're constructing something, just disable its collisions and then you can enable them whenever you want. The final option would be gravity. You can turn it off, and if I'm actually going to get rid of these wheels because they're not doing much for me right now. Now that I have absolutely no gravity or collisions on this bed frame, it should just fly up. Here, I'll make this stove have no gravity either. There we go. It's almost like they're in space. That's fun to fool around with. Now, the wheel tool wasn't a very good, it didn't turn out too well. But I did want to mention that these here, I wanted to bring these up again because this is very important. You click on them and you assign a key by pressing on it when it says press a key. Forward, reverse. That's what you're going to want to do. You do not want to forget how to do that, because then you won't know what keys to use in order to move your wheels or your thrusters. There are plenty of things that use these keys here that you have to assign. Emitters, dynamite, there are all kinds of things. So make sure that you remember and assign a key for the item that you want to use, whether it be a wheel or whatever. The duplicator tool is something that you're going to be using a lot, so I figure I may as well just introduce this in this starting tutorial. You right click on something that you want to duplicate, and you left click it to duplicate it. Now sometimes a ragdoll needs to be touched in order for it to be in its pose, so I bump into him, and there we go. He has everything on him. He still has the same eye pose, still has the same inflation, and everything else. So the duplicator tool duplicates everything to its exact copy, so you don't have to create everything all over again if you want to. Also, if two items are connected, for instance with a weld, you can also duplicate them and their welded item. They'll be automatically connected. So that's useful. If you can duplicate entire vehicles and creations just using this. So here you got welds, ropes, pulleys, muscles. You can do all kinds of things with these tools, but as I've said before, you can just experiment with them on your own whenever you're ready, and I figure that's just about all I should have to bring up in this. I'll run through the rest of the spawn menu, well, not the rest of it, but just some of its properties before I finish up here. So we've got weapons. These are the Half-Life 2 weapons, remember, depending on what source games you have. It depends on the content that you'll have in Garry's mod. I'll grab a shotgun, and you've got your primary fire and your secondary fire, just like from Half-Life 2. 1 bullet, 2 bullets. Something useful is I'm out of ammo here. If I want more, just right-click on the weapon and say spawn with tool gun. Now you'll get this creator tool, which is creating whatever icon you've selected like this. And you click to spawn it. It's almost like the duplicator tool, except it just spawns something that you'd spawn using the menu, except with your tool gun. So that's useful. Just give myself a little bit more ammo with this. Now I can reload and add a bit more of that. Remember, you can do that with props and ragdolls too. When I spawn this with my tool gun, I can right click on it and spawn it with my tool gun. When I spawn a ragdoll using that, I can do that as well. So there you go. That's how if you right click on here, you can copy their you can copy almost like their ID to a clipboard, but that's for more complicated stuff. You can delete them out of menus if you really don't want them there, but I don't see why you'd want to do that. And you can also do a few more things with props and ragdolls, but I won't go into that right now. Now you've got entities. You've got fog, sky, and sun editors, which you'll always have in Garry's mod. But I'm going to go into an entirely separate tutorial in order to bring these up, because they're very fun to mess around with, and I don't want to bring up a lot about them, so we'll leave that for later. Bouncy balls. They're entities, because not only can you eat them and gain health, they also have special bouncy properties created specially by Garry. Half-Life 2 has your ammo boxes, a helicopter grenade, a mine that actually works. It'll lock into the ground, and it'll bounce up towards an enemy and blow up. That could have killed me. Here, I'm going to stand here to show that, yes, it can kill you. Ow. Well, I'm still alive. Alright, so I want to heal up, so I'll make myself some health kits. There we go. You can interact with just about every entity. That's why it's called one. Here, in my other entities, I don't know what that is. But, yeah, this thumper, it'll drive away antlions, if you remember from Half-Life 2. Suit charger, armor batteries, you got all kinds of things you can use there. But here you've got NPCs, which is personally one of my favorite things about Garry's mod. You can spawn whatever NPC, and you just click on the icon and spawn. Now he's got a pistol right now, which really doesn't work with him. So if you want to change their weapon, just in this tab up here, click on it, you'll get some different options, but we're going to go to just hover our cursor over Weapon Override, and you can change the weapon to whatever you want. I want my Combine to have AR2s. When I spawn them, they have AR2s. Oh, better defend myself. There we are. So you can kill the NPCs, and they will attack you back depending on whether they be good or evil. So if I spawn Father Gregory, who is a hero from...
Turn not thy face away from me. Incline thy ear and hear me when I shall cry to thee in my affliction.
Right. So they'll talk to you. They'll do lines from Half-Life 2. They're pretty complicated, and they're fun to mess around with. They'll even fight each other if you were to put two enemies next to each other. I'll spawn a Combine and a Resistance member. There we go. They'll shoot each other. Oh, looks like the citizens come in.
That's how you do it, eh, Freeman?
Yes, that is how you do it. And you can spawn some Metro Cops. I don't think they'll work too well with an AR2. Nah. But here, I can spawn some zombies. They won't actually spawn with weapons, so you don't have to worry about clicking on none. Spawn a couple zombies. There we go. Here, let me kill these guys. Come on, what are you looking at? Kill them. There you go. Come on, you can do it.
While I reload.
Ah, screw you. Okay, so those are NPCs. They're always fun to mess around with, and here's my final topic that I'm going to cover in this video. You've got vehicles, which pretty much you just press E and get inside of them. So these are chairs, and you can press Control to go in third person, and again to go into first person. They don't really do much, but you can weld them to an object if you want to be able to sit in them or whatever. They're just here for uses like that. But these vehicles from Half-Life 2 you actually can use. Airboat, Jalopy, and Jeep. Get in one? Is it Jalopy? I don't remember. Get in one, and you can drive just like in Half-Life 2, using WASD and Shift to drive. So that's cool. Alright, so I guess that's all I'm going to cover here. Feel free to mess around with anything in the game. Don't be afraid to experiment. That's what Garry's Mod is for. So, have fun, guys, and this was the basics tutorial, and this is for Boat and Wolf 101, signing off.